All right, you guys, the moment we've all been waiting for. We are on digital SAT lesson number 4, and we are finally going to start reviewing your memories from some geometry stuff. Okay, I know geometry makes a lot of us want to roll our eyes, but there is some key components to geometry that we need to refresh your memory on. For some of you, this was a long time ago that you took geometry. So I need you to fill in a couple blanks here. Corresponding angles when you have similar figures are congruent. Congruent means equals. Here's the symbol for it. Okay. The corresponding sides are not equal. They are proportional, which means the fractions reduce to the same thing. And in most questions, I'll elaborate on this when we get to some examples that illustrate this. But likely one of the figures is going to be double the other, which means the smaller one is going to be half the bigger one. Or the relationship could be triple, okay? One major thing to be aware of is that this is a digital test, which means you don't have a test booklet, right? You're staring at your iPad. Don't be lazy and try and do it in your head. You will get confused and you will miss some of the very simple, easy questions. You have to draw a diagram or a picture yourself. It makes the problem so much easier. But the thing about high school students is they have become so lazy and they think they can do it in their head, and therefore they get dinged on the SAT. They miss very simple questions because they refuse to put pencil to paper. So don't be one of those, okay? Let me talk about what we wrote here for similar figures. You know how you can like trace this in Notability and then like pinch it and make it smaller? So the thing about that is that the angles are the exact same measurement, but the sides become a little bit smaller or bigger. That is what we're talking about here when we say corresponding angles are congruent, but sides are proportional, okay? So anyways, let's dive right into number 1. We've got these two triangles. They're telling us they are similar, which means this stuff. And it says that P corresponds to S. What does that mean? That means that angle P and angle S match up. They are the same degree. Okay, and it says that angle Q is 18 degrees, so I labeled this with an 18. Yes, this means you're likely drawing a picture on your scratch piece of paper while you're taking the digital SAT. And Q goes with T. Do you remember how this middle letter matches up with this middle letter? That's how to read this congruent statement. The first letter matches up with the first letter, so the P and the S go together. The middle letter and the middle letter go together. That's why I put an 18 here by T. What is the measure of angle S? Okay, how are we going to figure out that it's 72? We were only given this right angle, and we were given 18 goes up here, which I know also goes up here. So remember, in a triangle, very basic, like day 1 of geometry, you guys. A triangle, all 3 of the angles add up to 180 degrees. So if you know this one's 90 and this one's 18, you can subtract from 180 and figure out that this one is 72, which means that also this one is 72 because P matches up with S. Okay, that's how I got 72 there. Number 2, we've got this weird trapezoid with a slash through it, but again, don't try and do this in your head. You will screw it up, but it should be very simple. AB is 9. Where can I put 9? Let's find AB. It's this piece right here, and I am labeling that 9 units long. Same thing with BC. Where's that? It's right here. It's 18.5. And then I also labeled this, and I need to figure out ED, which is why I put an X there. This 8.5 goes right here between F and E. Okay, so here's the thing. What we're going to do is we're going to set up a proportion. We're going to say 18.5 over X equals 9 over 8.5. That is what I wrote here. And then remember how to solve a proportion. You cross multiply this way, which means we get 9x. Keep your equal sign in the middle and you cross this way. Yes, I needed a calculator for that. And you divide by 9 and there is our final answer. It does say nearest tenth. Here's a fun fact about the SAT is that if they want you to round, or sometimes people think, oh my gosh, I got a decimal. Is that wrong? Did I do something wrong? No, look at the directions. Right? It tells you to round. That means that you're likely not going to have a whole number as your answer. Don't panic. Don't freak out. And look, 17.47 rounds to 17.5. Let's talk about number 3. I have students every year when I teach geometry, they struggle so much with questions like this, but they should be so simple. And again, it's the laziness, it's the fact they don't want to draw a picture. So they bring up this question to me and they're like, I don't understand this question about these 2 trees. They're perpendicular. One of the trees is 10, one is 5. I have a shadow. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, okay, well, let's draw a picture. And so they roll their eyes at me. I'm not even kidding you. And they go like this. Okay, fine. Here's a triangle. I'm like, bro, where is the tree? This should be so simple, right? Like, draw a decent looking triangle, and this is the tree. Look, I even put some leaves on it. It takes 3 seconds. And look, here's the shadow. The shadow goes along the ground. Oh, now I see that it's a triangle. And it did tell me it's perpendicular, duh, because trees are perpendicular to the ground, right? So here's my triangle, and I drew another one very similar because I have 2 different trees. One of them's 10 feet. One of them, it's asking me how tall is the other tree, so I put an X there. And I also know that the shadow of the 10-foot tall tree is 5, so this is 5. And the shadow of the other tree is 2, so this is 2. Do a very simple picture so that you don't get confused and you can crush this question and move on to the next one. And look, here's what I was talking about. Do you see the relationship here? Here's 10, here's 5. Can you figure out what goes here if this is 2? Look, this relationship here is half. That happens so often. So can you figure out what goes here? If the 5 is half of the 10, that means that 2 is half of the 4. Yes. You could also set up a proportion if that confuses you and if you don't want to use mental math or if you don't want to use common sense. What we can do here is we can take the 10 over the x, that's the tree over the tree, equals the shadow over the shadow, which is the 5 over the 2. If you cross multiply this thing, 5x goes here, 10 times 2 is 20, and solve it. You get 4, you get the same answer, but someone who was paying close attention to the relationship here was able to get this without having to do a proportion, okay? I want to show you multiple methods. Whatever you're comfortable with, go for it. Let's look at number 4. We've got these 2 triangles, and here's the thing that they're trying to confuse us about, right? They have flipped this triangle so that it's not pointing the same direction as this one. Do you notice that? I filled in the 58 myself because I noticed this was 90 and this was 32, and I remember, if I remember anything from geometry, it's the fact that all 3 of these add up to 180. Okay, so I figured out that this is 58 by subtracting 90 and 32 from 180. And I also know that if this is 58, this is 32, because again, they're supposed to add up to 180, right? And this is 90. Okay, so I have double swooped the 32 to mark that equal, and I have single swooped the 58 to mark those equal. But here's a pro tip for you. If you can take this image and if you can copy this one directly, and if you can twist this guy so that it points the same direction that this one does, which means that put the E in the same location as the A, because those are both your 32-degree angles, and put the right angles in the same location, the C and the F, because those are the right angles, then it's going to be a little bit easier to answer a question like this, which is confusing because all of these answers look the same. Okay, so I have which is equal to the ratio, and I use some highlighters. I've got BC here, which is my blue side, and I've got AB here, which is my pink side. Then I can very easily say the blue side matches up with this one, which is DF, and the pink side matches up with this one, which is ED. So which one? BC is blue, and it matches up with DF, so DF has to be on the top. That's not right. That could be right. That's not right. What's on the bottom? AB, that's here. That means that ED has to be on the bottom, not this one. There's my answer. Number 5, I've got similar triangles again. ABC, XYZ. So I'm going to draw some triangles. I'm going to draw ABC. There's triangle 1. And my second triangle, make sure that you match up angle A with angle X. Have them point the same way. A and X need to be in the same position because they're both first in the name of the triangle. Do you remember that from geometry? The middle letter matches up with the middle letter, so the B has to match up with the Y. And I also swooped those to make it easy for me to remember. The A, I single swooped. Great. And then the last letter is C, has to match up with Z. Those are my last letters. The length of each side of the triangle is twice, double. One of the triangles is double the size of the other one. And they're telling me that AB is 16. Great, that's right here. AB is 16. That matches up with this size, or this side, and I know that it is double. Very simple. I'm telling you, most times the answer will be either double or triple. They make it simple for you, but it can be very confusing if you do not have a picture to look at. That is why we get 32 for number 5. Okay, very similar here, except it's not a triangle, it's a quadrilateral. That means 4 sides. But I'm going to match up these sides. Don't let these tick marks confuse you. They just use the same letters. They're just putting tick marks instead of different letters. So P goes with P prime or P slash or P1 or P tick mark. Q prime goes with Q. That's why I'm matching these up. They also gave me a bunch of angles to fill in. So I went P, Q, R, S, P1, Q1, R1, S1. And I put them all in the same spot. The P's got to match up with the P, remember, otherwise you get confused. The measure of angle P is 30. I put 30 here. I'm also putting it here. Remember on the very front page, angles are congruent. It's the sides that are proportional, like double or triple or whatever. Okay, cool. What else do we know? Q is 50. So next to Q, I put a 50. And next to Q prime, I put a 50. That's awesome. And R is 70. So 70 and 70. The length of each side is 3 times the length of the original. Okay, but they're not asking me about the side. That's kind of extraneous trying to trick you information. They're asking about an angle. Did you remember that? Okay, what are they asking for? P prime. I think I already have that labeled, don't I? Oh, snap. Okay, great. Answer's B, 30 degrees. Here's what this question was testing, I think. Do you know the difference between angles and sides? Okay, the angles match up. If this is 30, this is 30. It's the side lengths that are different, but they're not asking me a question about the side lengths. They're asking about angle P prime, and I know it matches up with P, and the answer is 30. I've got a couple more. I think I have another drawing question that some students might get confused. They try not to draw the question, but we have a monument that casts a shadow. Okay, great. Here we go right away. Here's my monument. Here's my shadow. Very simple. At the same time, we have another tree. Beautiful. Here is my tree, and here is the shadow. You can connect the triangles if you want to, or you don't have to, but it says at the same time where the monument is 555 feet, what else do I need? What else did I skip over? We have a shadow of 300, which is right here. We have a shadow of a tree, which is 16. And they want to know the height of the cherry tree right here. Okay, great. In this case, I'm not seeing an easy relationship between 300 and 16. Dang it. So I'm going to have to set up a proportion, but that's okay. I'm going to take 555 over x equals 300 over 16 here. And then you just have to cross multiply 300x equals whatever that number is. Yes, ID is a calculator. Divide by 300, 29.6. And again, did I make a mistake? Oh my gosh, that's a decimal. Did I screw something up? I can't do this. Nobody panic. It says closest to the height. So yeah, we're good with 30. Okay, let's move on. Number 8, corresponding triangles. Do you see in this picture that we have a little triangle and a big one? I split those suckers up because it makes me less confused. And then this is CBD, so I did my little triangle CBD. My big triangle is CAE, so those are my letters there. And they also gave me some information to plug in. So if angle BDC, how do I find that? You trace it with your finger. BDC. Okay, great. That's this angle, which is 58. That's what they told me here. And I know that also matches up with this one. Okay, we have parallel lines, and let's see, or similar triangles, excuse me. So anyway, yeah, we have parallel lines, therefore we have similar triangles, okay? What else did they give me? ACE, where's that? ACE is 62, and I'm also going to label that right here. What's the measure of CAE? Let's find that. CAE. They're asking me about this one. So I know 62, I know 58. I'm going to subtract from 180 because every single triangle always adds up to 180, and that's how we get 60. Oh, I guess that's it. Super. We're finished, you guys. Thanks for watching. That is your crash course on similarity, similar triangles, proportions. Let us know, again, optional Fridays, if we lost you on any of this, if I went too fast, if you have too many questions, that's fine. That's what Fridays are for, okay? We can do this. I got a couple more geometry lessons later, but thank you guys for watching this one.